Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. So we're just going to do another velocity banking review. And one of the best ways to understand something is to kind of study what the complete opposite of that thing you're trying to study is. So a lot of people out there think, oh, just having a home equity line of credit is velocity banking when that's certainly not true, right? What velocity banking is using your home equity line of credit as your main operating account. And we're going to just do a review of how the bank would like you to use a home equity line of credit versus what we do, which is the opposite, which is velocity banking. Velocity banking. So there's an quote unofficial master plan that I assume banks would have that they don't let their employees know. But the way that they're going to make the most money is if they encourage you to make large purchases and also find a way just so that you make minimum payments, right? So you ever notice on every lender's website that has a HELOC, they always talk about making large purchases like home renovation, right? Because here's the thing, the bank doesn't really care if your home is like beautiful or not, right? And maybe they might care if they have to foreclose and resell it, but that's kind of like their very last contingency plan if you don't pay your bills. But what they want is not, let's say, a beautiful home. They just want to use up the line of credit that they provide you, and home renovation is the easiest way to spend that, right? And then the second thing they want is for you to make minimum payments, because minimum payments, whether it's a credit card, loan, line of credit, means that you pay more interest, right? And so number one, this is kind of taken care of by their website marketing. But number two, the minimum payments, that's actually taken care of by society, or what you would call societal conditioning, right? Because think about this. Let's say you told your family members, mom or dad or whoever, sisters, brothers, friends, that, hey, I'm just not going to have any savings. It's going to be zero in my account. Like, how many of them would freak out, right? Because that's essentially what velocity banking is. You got zero in your savings account. A lot of people would, so you kind of feel uneasy because it's like, oh my goodness, like I have zero in my savings account. I'm so afraid because everyone's freaking out, so they must know what they're doing, right? So number one is taken care of by the website marketing. Number two is taken care of by societal conditioning. And let's just kind of take a look at the bank's website. So as you can see right here, you know, you were at US Bank right now. How to use your home equity to finance home improvements, right? They want you to make large purchases like this, but they don't care about how the inside of your home looks. They just want you to use the line of credit, right? No bank ever steps inside a home unless they're doing like an appraisal to get a loan. But like while you're in the home, they don't really care. They just want you to pay interest on whatever debt product that you're using, right? And here we have home equity line of credit. Okay. Now, one of the ways that you can find out whether people are succeeding or failing with this type of instrument is just by going on Reddit, right? I've actually went over this post before, but there was this post here where it says, "How do you get out of HELOC debt?" And then uh, I took out a HELOC loan to increase our home's value with upgrades. See how that, like, they fell for the bank's marketing for upgrading your home. And then also, there's going to be a savings account somewhere in the mix. So if I do Control F, and you see, like, so it basically says, I feel stuck, stupid, can't find a way out without cashing out everything or pay it down since we didn't have enough to pay it. Um, is anyone going through anything simpler? Did you find a solution other than wiping out your savings to get the balance down? So did you see how, like, there's that resistance of not wiping out your savings, where velocity banking, you are going to wipe out your savings and you're going to use your home equity line of credit as your main operating account. So it's basically a mindset shift. And so if you're attached to the savings account, you're doing it the way that the banks want you to do, which is their most profitable way. So when the bank profits, you're essentially in the struggle bus. Now, I know that some people disagree with me and say, hey, you know what? My home does need upgrades, right? And I get it. I get it. I would not upgrade my home unless I was going to sell it like tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I just wouldn't do it because, you know, I spend 90 grand on a new kitchen and new bathroom unless it's like completely unusable, right? And it's completely disgusting and you know, I need to replace everything. And 90 grand, if you didn't know, in home repairs is like it's like a major renovation. It's like you're almost replacing the whole house, right? It's like it's huge. Okay, you probably maybe if you're gonna do a renovation, probably, and if your house is completely dirty, probably 20, 30K. 90K is a lot. Okay, but what I'm saying is that you don't have to spend that much for a home renovation. Certainly not 90,000 in order to redo your kitchen, your bathroom. If someone's charging you 90,000 for that, they probably probably made a good profit on you. Okay, so let me now that we kind of know why people are struggling with HELOCs, what's the opposite of that? It's essentially velocity banking. So number one, we're not going to make stupid purchases that we can't immediately benefit from, right? Like I said, we don't need to fix up our home unless like the kitchen and the bathroom is disgusting. And hey, I got pictures of my disgusting bathroom and kitchen, and it only took me about $30,000 to fix it. So no need to spend $90,000. The second thing is we're not going to have any savings, right? Not going to have any savings at all. So let me just kind of show you how we would do velocity banking, right? So what is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy using your line of credit as your main operating account, and you only need two things. Number one is a budget. Number two is your line of credit as a main operating account. So I've made a very simplified budget. The whole point of this budget is to emphasize what's the difference between using your HELOC the average American way versus the velocity banking way. That's really the purpose of this video. And so what's our goal here? Use HELOC as MOA. What is the MOA? Main operating account. That's what a HELOC is. You're using it as your main operating account. And so the difference between the average American and velocity bankers, the average American uses their checking account and leaves everything in savings after they paid their bills through checking. Whereas with velocity banking, we're gonna assume, okay, for the purpose of this demonstration, we have the same income, but instead of having savings and being resistant to not, to wiping it out, we're gonna do the opposite, right? You saw on the Reddit post, like, do I have to? Is there any other way other than wiping out my savings? It's like, why wouldn't you wipe out your savings? Savings is just idle money, right? So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And so now let's just assume, so we have two debts, right? And whenever we do our budget, we're going to list every single debt we have because velocity banking, the game plan is to eliminate debt to increase our cash flow. And so here, right, we're going to make our home equity line of credit as our main operating account. And so we're just going to assume we have a $100,000 limit. And then for some reason, we spent 90 grand in renovations for our own personal home, which I kind of find that hard to believe. Because again, I have pictures of dirty toilets and disgusting. It only took me 30 grand to fix up the house. Okay. Now, it was all cosmetic, but at the same time, the toilet was disgusting. I don't see any reason to spend 90 grand unless you're doing renovation. But let's just assume that we spent 90 grand out of a $100,000 home equity line of credit. Okay. Now, first of all, we can transfer the $7,000 debt. So this could be 97,000, right? 97. So just by simply making our HELOC our main operating account, this actually goes to zero. And I'll tell you why. Because the actual velocity banking strategy is that your paycheck goes into the line of credit. And when you put your entire $4,500 into that line of credit, does this payment matter? No, right? Essentially it's a cash flow when it becomes our main operating account. Okay. And the second benefit to this is actually going to reduce the interest because now the interest, because it's based on the average daily balance, and when you put your entire paycheck in, you're making it the lowest the day that you put your entire paycheck in the line of credit. So you don't accrue as much interest as you normally do as if you just make this your not your main operating account, right? So again, here we're not putting our entire 4,500 into the line of credit. Here we are, and then in order to pay for our bills, we just take our expenses out of the line of credit. Whoa, I can't even do the arrow. Out of line of credit. And then now let's go ahead and do this. And now our cash flow went from 605 to 2,500. So the only way that we can actually go here is by making sure that our savings is zero. So you see on the Reddit post, it's like, oh my goodness, number one, you saw home renovation, right? And then number two, resistance to wiping out that savings account and not making the line of credit as your main operating account. So now after every single month, it's going to go down about 2,500 and some change. So let's go ahead and do those formulas, right? And then so to get the next month's balance, it's the previous month's balance plus the previous month's interest minus our cash flow, which is 2,500. And then to calculate the interest, it's based on the average daily balance. So we get the average of these two numbers, multiply by the interest rate, and then divide by 12. And then we just copy and paste these formulas. Now here's the thing, right? Again, having to start out at a max line of credit is a no bueno, right? But there are people who do that because they don't understand the strategy and they engage in something called segregation of income. Now, if you have two debts, it doesn't seem to really like it doesn't click what the idea of segregation of income is. But as you make more money and as you have more debt, right, then it makes sense because your paycheck comes in and your money is split into 20 different ways and it's not as effective as if it's just going to one spot, which will be our line of credit. So let me just kind of go here, and this is why I say, you don't want to make large purchases, unnecessary large purchases, because what if we had an empty line of credit? What if this could have been like a down payment for a real estate deal? And whenever and I'm not saying you should do this, right? I'm just saying that this is a what if. What if we took some of the money as a down payment for a real estate deal and then we cash flowed on that property? And so we have extra income coming in. And it's not just, I don't know if you ever heard the difference between like, oh, what's the difference between your personal home versus an investment home? Robert Kiyosaki says that your personal home is always a liability, right? Because even if you pay off a thing, and I paid off my personal home mortgage under 3 years, I still got to pay taxes, I still got to pay insurance, maintenance, right? So it's not like this free and clear thing. Whereas you got to invest in property, your tenant is paying you that, and you should be able to cash flow probably maybe around 70% times whatever you're getting in rent. So $2,000 times 70%, that's like 1,400. So you should positive cash flow, whereas your own personal home is always a negative cash flow, if that makes sense, because no one is really giving you any money to rent there unless you actually, rent out to people on Craigslist or anything like that. So as you can see here, it took us 47 months. So what's 47 divided by 12? 3.9 years. 3.9 years to pay both our max, well, not, I don't know if this is a maxed out credit card, but almost maxed out HELOC. And again, yeah, it sucks that, it takes us so long to pay this 97 grand, but you're only making 4,500. So that's pretty good, right? So 4,500. But here's the thing, right? You don't want to be in this position ever. So that's why I warn you, and this is why I talk about in finances, that instead of crashing the car and then figure out, oh, I should learn how to drive, you want to figure this all out before you learn how to drive the car, right? Metaphorically, I always use that metaphor because if you know the traps are out there, you just simply avoid them, and then maybe you do get a line of credit. But again, maybe it's better just to do it for cash flowing assets rather than just doing your own home and renovating the thing and not realizing like a gain in your wealth from doing that, right? So, all right, okay. So this is Korean Atlanta mentorship. So just another review of velocity banking. This one's a quick one of why simply having a HELOC is not velocity banking, right? Velocity banking is your line of credit as your MOA, main operating account. And what happens is that the average American, they get a HELOC and they just don't use it as their main operating account. So every time I see a Reddit post about struggling with HELOCs, there's always two components in there that I see, or maybe not all of them, but one is they just recently did a renovation. Number two, they're resistant to wiping out their savings. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for today. Have a great day, and I'll try to have the Google form done by tomorrow if I'm not lazy. Other than that, have a great day, and we'll speak next time.